Welcome to the Zarlequan podcast. I'm your host, Brittani Starr. As always, I have all the books that authors have sent to me right here. If you send me yours, I will also put it up on display. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to share with you. Today we have Dr. Michelle Maidenberg, Ph.D., MPH, LCSW-R, CGP. She has over 30 years of clinical experience and maintains a private practice in Harrison, New York. She is also the co-founder and clinical director of Thru My Eyes, a nonprofit 501c3 organization that offers free clinically guided videotaping to chronically medically ill individuals who want to leave video legacies for their children and loved ones. Michelle is adjunct faculty at New York University, teaching a graduate course in mindfulness practice. She is a board of directors member at the Boys and Girls in Mount Vernon and is a member of the American Red Cross crisis team. She serves on the board of directors of the Westchester Trauma Network in Westchester, New York. She is a certified group therapist and the American Group Psychotherapy Association, and a diplomat and certified member of the Academy of Cognitive Therapy. Michelle has advanced training in cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, structural family therapy, polyvagal theory and therapy, mindfulness, and is a level 2 trained eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapist, or EMDR. Michelle is the author of the book Free Your Child from Overeating, 53 Mind-Body Strategies for Lifelong Health, and her new book, Ace Your Life, Unleash Your Best Self, and Live the Life You Want. She is a blogger for Psychology Today, 1.5 million reads, and recently did a TED Talk on circumventing emotional avoidance. She has been featured in more than 150 national and international media, including the New York Times, Cosmopolitan, Fitness, Ladies' Home Journal, Men's Health, and Forbes. Michelle is a contributing editor of Group, the Journal of the Eastern Group Psychotherapy Society. She is a consultant and trainer on a variety of mental health and health-related topics and has 4 children and 3 dogs. She is dedicated and invested in health and mental health advocacy. The title of the book we're talking about today is Ace Your Life, Unleash Your Best Self, and Live the Life You Want. This book offers another way. Michelle P. Maidenform, Ph.D., explains how to create a life of legacy, of love, both of self and others, and fulfillment, predicated on acceptance, compassion, and empowerment skills. Maidenberg's approach has transformative range, working for those who feel slightly stuck and are seeking personal growth and enhancement, as well as those with more complex stuckness caused by trauma, cumulative stress, or other significant challenges. Each section of Ace Your Life walks your reader through definitions, benefits, barriers, and includes curiosity-based mindfulness questions and exercises to promote growth, healing, and a path towards personal fulfillment. Individuals who want to enhance their life in a significant way and become their best selves through the work and wisdom of personal growth will benefit from this encouraging, inspirational, and easily actionable guide.
The Empowerment Zone.
I was just doing your introduction and I'm like, wow, you've
Sorry.
you've done a lot with your life. You are, you have accomplished quite a lot of things. You're involved in so much that is helping the community. And I was just talking about all of that. Cognitive behavioral therapy has become honestly quite a trend lately. It's actually I love that the trend is personal development, that people are like, I have to work on myself and become a better person so that all the people around me can become better people, and my children can have better lives because, I've become better. I love that that's the trend, and that is really what you're all about.
100% what I'm about. Through and through, through and through, literally.
Well, can you take us back to the beginning? You have actually a couple books out,
Yeah.
but today we were talking about Ace Your Life, Unleash Your Best Self, and Live the Life You Want. Can you talk to us about where did you come up with this idea? What inspired you to write this book?
So, ACE Your Life, which is predicated under ACE, acceptance, compassion, and empowerment. That's the overarching kind of theme throughout the book. So, the first chapter in the book starts off with talking about our thoughts. And our thoughts are very distinct in terms of, why it is that, let's say, we have a negativity bias, or why it is that, all the things that our brain does just organically, just because it's really wired to avoid discomfort and also danger. And it is constantly putting us in positions where we're doing both of those things. And sometimes when we don't need to, because our perception of danger and what is actually dangerous may not be accurate. It may be on fears, it may be on, how we're socialized and a whole variety of other reasons. So what led me to this? And I'll tell you, this is actually a true story, but I made up business cards like years ago when we gave out business cards. We don't do that anymore. Now we just put it in our phones. And it's pretty amazing. I could even show it to you, but it's amazing. On the flip side of the business card, it says Ace Your Life. And I didn't even and it says acceptance, compassion, empowerment. I I haven't used business cards for years, literally, and I didn't even realize what was on the other side of the card. So that's one thing. So when I looked at my card, I was like, wow, like mind blowing because it was in me and I didn't even know. And then the other, which this is another like amazing thing, is I had another word. I can't even remember what it was. I had another word for compassion. And when I was going through it with my editor, she said to me, I think you might want to use the word compassion because I'm looking at how many times it was repeated throughout your book. And it's actually pretty profound. And, it is written so many more times than the other word that you originally put. So I said, okay, that actually makes sense. And I actually like it. I think it sounds better. And it's actually what I'm speaking to. And then when I looked at the card, it said acceptance, compassion, and empowerment, which was amazing. Like that was mind blowing to me. So, yeah, meant to be. It's really a compilation of all the work that I do. And I really feel it's kind of like, again, a guidebook. I call it a guidebook and a methodology to living your life. And I use it with people of all ages. Anybody could relate to it. It applies to all kinds of stuckness, whether it's weight and health management, whether it's relationships, career goals, vast. It's really vast. Anxiety, etc. Um, and it really helps you if you really understand and integrate the skills with the exercises that I provide, you will be living your best life. And I use this methodology personally, and it's changed my life like substantially and incrementally. I use it with my clients, I use it with my kids, I use it across the board. And what I love, what is so incredible is I have like my own kids and then also all different age group of individuals I work with. They'll use the lingo that I use, talking about like, yeah, I really actually was leading into my values, or there's a value conflict here. I realize why this is so difficult for me. So again, it's just so wonderful because they have a context for which to make decisions, excuse me, to be mindful in their lives. And it's really helpful to help them guide, and really come up with strategizing how they want to live, what's going to be meaningful for them, what's going to give them a sense of purpose. And also, how are they going to assess and evaluate whether they're accomplishing what they want to? And I find that the hardest piece of all of this is the maintenance and sustainability of these skills, right? Because if I ask people, I do workshops sometimes, how many of you have lost weight? And all the hands go up. And then I say to them, how many have sustained it over time? Hands go down. Habits we're trying to change, right? Relationships that we're trying to, fortify. It falls short because it's very hard for us. We get in our own way because of our adaptations, because our coping strategies, because of our personalities and the way we're socialized. There's so many factors, again, that gets in the way that puts us in a position where we slip. We constantly slip. And guess what? That's part of being human. We're not perfect. But it's really being able to, when you're really noticing that there's a somatic feeling in your body, or there's a thought that's coming through your mind, or there's behavior that you're compelled to, that you're able to withdraw and take, really take a mindful moment and assess that for yourself, and then really tap into what your best self is, who you want to be, what you're all about, what you want to stand for, and boom, behaving in that way. And what's so beautiful about it is when you are behaving in that way, you're able to build your self-confidence. You're able to build yourself, again, your self-belief, your self-compassion. All of it comes thrusting forward and it perpetuates the behavior. And you end up feeling like wonderful about yourself. And that's really living a meaningful life in a nutshell.
Absolutely. So, do you have like a formula that people follow? And so you have to continue those steps to continue. And so you're saying like, because this will work no matter what the, like, if you do weight management, that was your other book is,
One of the things I do. Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And so but you can also use this formula to overcome, like, if you have a block towards success for some reason, or whatever that, so this formula will work across the board no matter what that issue is going to be. And so that's what
Yeah.
your book is telling us is the formula.
Yeah, exactly. You just plug in whatever it is. So at the end of each chapter, I have, well, throughout the chapters, I have exercises that you would do. Again, very user-friendly. I even make it so easy that I give you lines in the book if you wanted to actually write in the book and complete the exercises. And then at the end of each chapter, I also have a guided meditation that you could download because I record guided meditations on my YouTube channel every Thursday. So it's a really nice way to integrate because, again, mind body, we want to really somatically, again, and also neurologically, because I'm not looking to make changes that are going to last for a week or two. I'm looking to make fundamental long-term changes. And what we know is if we practice these habits, and if we're able really to formulaically enable our brain to have space between the thinking and doing, we're changing our brain structure. So I really want to say that this is neurobiology. Okay. We're actually working with the gray matter in our brain, which is fascinating. And we know this with research because we have advanced technology now. We're able to actually see the change in brain structure, which is unbelievable. And I'll tell you a personal anecdote, which is amazing. Sometimes, of course, I work on myself all the time, and certain things trigger me, like they do everybody. But I've really learned, right, and cultivated kind of skills whereby I don't get triggered by the same things that I used to. I just don't, right? Because I've really worked on those neural networks. But you know what happens? And it just happened to me the other day. I'm sitting there and I'm like, why am I not having a reaction? Like almost like where I thought, like I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be frustrated right now. I'm supposed to be frustrated. Why am I not frustrated? Like, what's wrong with me? And on the one hand, I was like happy for not being frustrated, but then it felt strange because it's so innate for me to feel frustrated in moments like that. But I didn't feel that way. And it was like amazing. I was like, boom, like I have changed my brain. Like my brain thinks it's supposed to do that. Right. But it's not doing that. And it's like amazing. So I really do see it. I see it all the time. And I see it with the people I work with, my patients, the progress that they make blows me away. And I have to tell you, they really bring me to tears sometimes. I was just talking to somebody yesterday. When I first started seeing her, I mean, I can't even describe the condition she was in, honestly. She has, a considerable amount of anxiety. She's online dating. She has a full-time job. She's applying for graduate school. She has incredible, like, connected relationships. I mean, literally, we're talking about like a 360. And I said to her, like, I had to stop. And I said, because we were just, kind of talking about, her going to graduate school. And I took a moment and I said, stop, let's stop, let's stop. I go, do you realize what we're talking about here? And she was like, what? I go, we're talking about you going to graduate school. So she was like, yeah. So I said, just take a moment and take in all the transformation that you've been through in the past couple of years, and that you're sitting with a better version, a more enhanced version of yourself, and that you single-handedly have worked on yourself, right? To be living your life because you connect to your sense of worthiness. Like, just like take a minute. And she burst out into tears. She literally just burst out into tears. And I started tearing because it was just so powerful. And I said, gosh, like, you deserve a moment. Like, let's just slow down. And I said, You need to take more of these, right? Because we really want to reinforce the behavior." And it was just such a bonding moment. Now, again, I used myself in the sessions because part of some of her anxieties around intimacy and vulnerability, right? So I use myself in the session, right? Both to model that for her and to connect with her so that she actually feels vulnerable and she could talk about it. And we could kind of, how did that feel for me to say that to you? And what did that feel like when you burst into tears? And what did that feel like in your body when you actually accepted and sat with, I'm proud of myself, which is not anything you've ever really said to yourself. Like, how does that feel? And she was able to say, that feels so good. I go, yeah, you want more of that, don't you? Right. But you know what? Your brain sometimes is going to be offline and it's going to tell you, don't do that because you might fail. Or, you're not that person, you're that person, right? Like who you used to be. Or it's too scary to get into a relationship because you never know what's going to happen. You might be rejected, or like, and I was like, no, that's going to come up for you. Comes up for me too, right? And we just like kind of sat in that. So every moment that we're kind of working towards this, it's changing our body, our physiology, our nervous system, our cortisol levels, our neural networks, and I could go on and on. It's amazing. It's like literally amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah, something we talk about personal development in our family. That's one of my husband and I. That's kind of one of our things. Is we're always discussing this kind of thing, and our kids do too. And we've been talking about, trauma is like kind of the things that have happened in your life growing up, and so. But part of that is also how you take it on. Everybody takes on the experience in a different way as well, and so how are you taking things on that is affecting you negatively, as well as what are the outside influences that are happening to me, what am I doing with it too? And so I think that's, you're hitting on that as well. But um so when you're talking about this, are you talking like, because when you have parents and you're growing up, you don't have any choice. That's where you're put. And you really don't have a whole lot of choice in between there. So whatever your parents' wounds are emotionally, it is going to display in however they treat you. And then you're going to take on those things. And a lot of it is subconscious. We have no idea until we get older or start being triggered. That's when we start going, why am I triggered here? If you start evaluating your triggers, figuring that out and going, okay, now I'm purposely going to move in a different direction because I know I'm reacting because of
Mhm.
that old trigger. But so these are the things that you can heal. So that's what
Mhm.
I tell my kids is, look at your triggers, because that's telling you what you have to focus on to fix. Your trigger is
That
not someone else's problem.
that is where the healing, that
Yeah.
is where it pinpoints you and it directs you towards your healing. That is exactly right. Actually, like my goal is to write 3 books, hopefully more, but my goal is to write 3 books. But that's my next book, by the way. I am totally going to work on that. Yeah, I must write a book around triggers. That is like my, yeah, right? Yeah, totally.
Triggers
Because
are huge.
oh yeah, and it constantly sets us back. I mean, I can't say that
Mhm.
enough. It sets us back. It's like a literally a sucker punch to the stomach. Like that's
Yeah.
what I say. And it throws us, literally, I know when I'm triggered, I'm that 9-year-old. Like totally. I'm 9. I'm not like 52. No, I'm
Right.
9, you know?
Right.
And my behavior is a 9-year-old. My thinking is a 9-year-old. Everything that's going on in my body is a 9-year-old. It's not me today. So I
Mhm.
literally have to recalibrate and remind myself, like, no, I'm not that. I'm this, And I'll give you a good example, actually, that happened to me. So I got into a little bit of a misunderstanding, I'm going to call it, with a friend, a very long-term friend who I know since childhood. And, you know, the thing that came to my mind was what was triggering for me related back to my parents, because a lot of my interactions with both of my parents, and they were divorced when I was 3, was a lot of push and pull, like, right? Like smothering me and then like literally distancing from me in all different kinds of ways. I'm not going to get into the intricate details, but it was a lot of this. So if you think about like a little kid who's constantly like this, it's very destabilizing, very. So she got really upset at me, for whatever reason. It was a misunderstanding. And what she did was she wrote me a text that was really hurtful and basically said something like, I know we're old friends, but sometimes we outgrow our friends and, I need my space. And literally, and again, whoa, it literally was such an upheaval to all my like abandonment and rejection issues and challenges that I have. It like,
Mhm.
again, it was like a sucker punch, And a lot of that, a number of people in my life have fit that prototype of this, a lot, there's been some people in my life who's been like this. And I'm like, oh my God, here's another person. Here's another person who's like doing this again to me. Is it me? Is it them? Like I literally felt like it was crazy making. And I really, because again, I'm happy to take personal responsibility and own what's mine, like 100%. But I found that I was like confused, like my brain got really confused. And I felt like that little girl who was confused, like, because that's the state I used to get into when that used to happen. And when I was confused, I kind of shut down and repressed and whatever else, right? As an adaptation in order to survive. And I do that as an adult. Sometimes I catch myself, So what ended up happening was I found it triggered me right back there. It was so interesting. And then I had my own therapy because I do my own, I do EMDR therapy. I do it. I'm an EMDR therapist, but I also have EMDR personally. And when I did kind of the processing, what came out, and I said to her, my therapist, I said, like, oh my goodness, like, it seems like everyone in my life is like that. Maybe I'm attracting those kind of people. So then, so we kind of processed. And what came out of my processing was like, actually, that's not the case at all. Because people who were in my life that were like that are no longer in my life. Actually, and I have to set a very healthy boundary with my parents because that's just the way it is. But like the friends that I've cultivated over the years and the close, intimate connections that I have are all so freaking healthy. I mean, if they get upset at me, we talk about it. If I get upset at them, we talk about it. We express ourselves. We're able to be connected. We're able to be earnest and like loving and caring. And there's no like distancing and pulling and, all that drama. But I forgot for some reason. It felt like all my relationships were like that, but they're not. And then this morning, so I'm happy to announce, because I was really sad actually, because I really love this person very much. And I was really sad because I realized when she was kind of coming at me, it was with her own narrative, and there was nothing I could do about it. I felt very helpless and hopeless. But this morning she called me and she apologized. And she realized that she overreacted and that she didn't really, and we didn't get to talk, obviously. So there was a lot of misunderstandings. And of course, it was over text, which you know how that goes, right? We realized, and I said to her, like, I should have called you. Like that's on me. Like I should have called you. Like it didn't come across the way I wanted it to on text. And I totally see what you mean and why that triggered you. But going back to the triggers, I just wrote an article because I'm a Psychology Today blogger. And one of the things I said in my article, we get triggered. Okay. Nobody triggers us. Okay. What we do is we blame others. She triggered me. It's her fault, that I feel this way. No, 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 no. We get triggered. So when we get triggered, we need to look very deep within ourselves and understand what bear is being woken up and really understand that. And that is a critical part of our health and growth and learning and everything. And, you mentioned before, that is such a good guide in terms of understanding where we still need to heal. And like I said, with this example that I gave you about my friend, that is my healing. My healing is being rejected or being abandoned, right? And not feeling worthless because of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and actually, my therapist said, which I have to say, because it was so beautiful and it was so like really honed in on the point. She said to me, she said, Michelle, she goes, the friends that, or the, intimate partners or whatever, the people that you've been with, where you've had that's actually kind of normal part of adulthood. Like people come and go. Like we don't necessarily stay with the same person our whole life, whatever. We don't necessarily keep the same friends our whole life. People come and go because we develop, change, mature, transition, acclimate, whatever. She's like, that's like totally normal. Like, I don't see a problem with it, actually. It doesn't mean anything about you at all. Like, I have experienced the same thing in my life, and so has everybody else. I was like, that makes sense. And she's like, what happened with you when you were younger with your parents? Not okay. And I was like, that's true. you know? And she said, and you don't have unhealthy relationships now. You've actually weeded out unhealthy relationships in your life. So you're kind of confused. You're kind of like, for whatever reason, you're connecting the two and they're not connected at all. And when she said that and I was able to process that, I was like, yeah, I am okay. And like if I lose a friend along the way, which is very sad, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. It means that the relationship, for whatever reason, didn't work out, or we went in different directions, or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like really powerful, just to, again, I know all this, but it was powerful to just hear from
Hear
like
it.
the
Yeah,
outside. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. You have, I think we've only just scratched the surface here. We could have
Uh,
like hours
I
long discussion about this. This is like super important stuff. You have two books right now. What is uh yes, 53 mind body strategies for lifelong health, free your child from overeating, and then ace your life, unleash your best self, and live the life you want. Oh, there you go.
I love my covers. This is for the child from overeating. That's that. By the way, just so you know, it's psychological barriers to health and fitness.
Okay.
So it doesn't talk about nutrition and health, which is the direction that most people go in. They go to see nutritionists. And again, I'm all for going to see nutritionists. Don't get me wrong. If you don't deal with the psychological barriers, you're gonna slip and fall. I'm telling you. Okay. So this really just deals with the psychological barriers. Okay. It is focused on, teens and kids. I use it with adults. So the skills are overarching. It just better marketed towards, parents working with their kids. I also, do coach a lot of parents in working with their kids too. So, but I use it with a lot of adults. And then Ace Your Life, which is this one, which, yes, my
Pretty.
colors. Thank you. So that's the book that I was just talking about. And like I said, the chapters are, and I've gotten everything that I write, which is really important to me in both books, are research based. So, for those people who are very interested in more intellectual, kind of foundational information and research, it's there because that's important to me personally. And then, of course, it's a lot of my own work, which is complemented by the research.
Mm, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
How can people find you online if anyone connected with you?
Yeah, so my website is the best because it has literally all my blogs. It has, all the information that you need. It's my name, which is Michelle with two L's, Maidenberg, Maidenberg.com. Like I said, I have a YouTube channel, and every Thursday at 11 a.m., there is a published guided meditation on all different topics. And if you go on the channel, there's hundreds of meditations you could download. They're about, 10 minutes or so each one. And then I also am a Psychology Today blogger, and I do publish on the average about every 3 weeks or, every month I publish a new article. So, and again, a lot of self-help topics. I write on parenting, I write on advocacy, I write on all different types of topics that are like meaningful to me.
That's beautiful. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on today. It was awesome meeting you,
Oh,
and
you
I
too.
love hearing this information.
Oh, great. So it was so
Um,
nice to meet you too.
Yeah, man. Well, I was reading everything about you going like, yes. You never know till you actually meet somebody, but
Yeah,
these are
yeah,
it's so important. You know, I've been talking to a lot of leaders and business leaders, and they're like, you cannot anymore, especially today, not work
yeah.
on personal development and think you're going to have success in life. You just,
Yep.
and yeah.
And by the way, I use a lot of these skills with people in business as well. People in leadership roles using it with their staff, right? Their faculty, whatever. I use it a lot in leadership. So they're really, really very, very, very user friendly and durable. And again, cuts across any kind of stuckness, communication, relationships, health. I mean, again, across the board. So I
Awesome.
hope you find it meaningful. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I found a lot of value in this. I actually want to run out and get the book.
The Zarlequan Indieverse.